Let's start by downloading our Rocket file from Schoology. Remember, we can rotate in the viewport by pressing the middle mouse button. Hold down Shift, middle mouse button to pan around or dolly around the camera. Let's add a curve to make our motion path. Let's start by going to the Add menu, selecting Curve, and let's start with a path. The path will make a curve that has a direction. If we go into Edit mode, we can see a curve was created here under the origin of the world. We can turn off the geometry right here to take a better look. We can turn on to see what direction the curve is going towards by going up here in our viewport settings and selecting on our normals. We can increase the size of the normals by increasing the slider here. This will show a set of spines that we can use to tell what direction the path is going towards. So this means now that this is our beginning. This is the beginning of the spine, and this is the end of the spine. Now we can use two methods. We can move each point to create our curve with the move tool. And when we go back to object mode, the spines will disappear and we have our curve. Another way to do it is by going into edit mode, selecting all the vertices by either marquee selecting everything or pressing A on your keyboard to select everything in your scene. Or if we're in edit mode, select all the components of the selected object. Press delete vertices, and this will clear out our curve. We can now go into one of our viewport settings right here, one of our viewports views, and let's click on the negative Y right here, which will put us on our front view. Let's make our rocket visible so we can tell how our curve needs to look. And now we can go here to this tool right here, which is called the draw tool. Don't confuse it with the annotation because this one just annotates notes in our viewport but does not include any actual objects. Let's activate our draw mode right here. We can select the type of curve we're gonna do. Up here, we're gonna stick to Bezier, and let's go ahead and draw our curve. This will create a curve based on our stroke that we just made. We can see the spines here, which tells us our curve is in the correct direction. The curve will start from the point that you started drawing and will end at the point that you ended drawing. So now that our curve is ready, we can go back to object mode. You can actually, in edit mode, we can grab this splines right here and actually edit them afterwards. We can also grab these handles, which allows us to edit and adjust our curve, as we see here. Next, let's add our motion path right here. We're gonna be adding it here in the constraint panel, which looks like two little gears right here, right above our data tab. We're gonna add it to a rocket. So let's select our rocket, or we can select it here as well. Clicking on the Add Object Constraint and click Follow Path. This will create a constraint in our constraint tab that allows us to edit it. We can click here on Target and we can select our path that we just created. We can click here, Follow Curve, which will orient the object along with the curve. And here we can adjust the directions, our forward axis and our up axis. For this, our y axis is y, and our forward axis is z. Let's make our timeline bigger. And also, one last thing, the offset, we can increase or decrease it, which allows us to move or slide our target that follows the path. That way we can have it start in a specific spot if we need to. Now that our rocket is following the path, we can go ahead and adjust the animation. The constraint here has a specific settings that allows us to animate the path based on our timeline, but we're going to animate it based on our own settings. So let's click on the curve and let's go to its data tab, which is right here. It's right below the constraint tab and right above the material tab. Here on path animation, make sure that it's checked on. We have below that, we have these frames right here. We have the frame and the evaluation. The frame will dictate how long our animation is, which is going to be from 1 to 100 here. The evaluation will let us know at what frame, what point on the animation we want it to be at a specific spot in the timeline. So at frame 1, I'm going to go ahead and click on evaluation right here. I'm going to keyframe it at 0. We can keyframe it by right clicking on it and clicking insert keyframe, or click here on this dot. You can see all this have little dots, and this will create a keyframe for us. Let's move to frame 100, and it doesn't have to be 100, it can be any of these frames right here. Let's make it to about 150 to demonstrate. And here, let's type in 100, which will have it go towards the end of its animation. Here, we're gonna keyframe it again by pressing the little dot, or once there's a keyframe, it's gonna turn into a circle. Sorry, an empty diamond right here. And now we have our animation. Now we can press play to preview it, and it's now working.